the Work the Crowd podcast. I am one of your hosts, Douglas Harden. And as always, I'm joined by Jacob Clucas. Uh, what's up, buddy? How's it going?
Not well.
Not well. He's referring to Ohio State losing to Miami, which we're going to cover the college football playoff for a recap. Um, Clucas is going to give his breakdown of Ohio State and why they lost, where they go from here. Um, we're going to talk a little bit about golf because I saw during the playoffs last weekend our first Masters commercial. So we're already talking about the Masters in April. So we're going to talk a little bit about golf and uh, people leaving live and what that means for those players, and then some NFL stuff with the playoffs looming. And yeah, so let's get into it.
All right,
If you
so
want to get
let's
started
start.
on Ohio State, because I feel like just take a deep breath first before you go on this rant.
So, all right. So clearly, let's just get it out of the way. Ohio State lost to Miami. Okay, whatever. We move forward. All right. So here's my issue, and you can call me an irrational fan if you want, because I understand it. I understand spoiled fan syndrome, where you've got a team that you cheer for, like Alabama. If you're in Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State, one of these schools, if you're a fan of one of these schools, you've got spoiled fan syndrome where you've been spoiled, your whole time as being a fan, and you expect maybe way too much, maybe. But expecting way too much has become, with being a fan like that, that becomes part of the standard of being a fan. Is that you expect greatness out of your team. This past year at Ohio State, on paper, throughout the regular season, looked like it was on its way to a historic season. They 12-0 in the regular season. The defense had allowed the least amount of points per game since the 2011 Alabama team, which was 8.9 or 8.6 points per game. Either way, a historic team in the making. All for it to crumble in the last two games of the year. Now, by saying this, no, no, not taking anything away from Miami or Indiana, two very good football teams. So let's go back to this time last year, Doug. Ohio State's making their historic playoff run. They win the national championship. So let's start off from that timeline. And where did this truly go downhill? And we all should have saw it coming as well. So Ohio State wins the national championship against Notre Dame. Jim Knowles, immediately defensive coordinator, leaves and goes to Penn State. Okay, shocking news. Wasn't expecting it. Ohio State fans kind of, left wondering, what are we going to do? We had a great defense last year. You got a lot of guys, including Caleb Downs, coming back next year. What do we do so we don't waste a year of Caleb Downs? They hire Matt Patricia. Now, at the time, kind of a questionable move because this guy hasn't coached college before. He's only been in the NFL. How does this work? We just all kind of assumed we have great players on defense like Caden McDonald, like Caleb Downs. We didn't know Arvell Reese was going to be as good as he was this year, but we knew he was talented. We knew we had Sonny Styles. We knew we had talent. We just kind of hoped that maybe if Patricia doesn't work out, the talent is able to overcome everything. Let me tell you where it messed up at, Doug. Chip Kelly left as the offensive coordinator to go be with the Raiders. Okay. I understand it. We all kind of knew Chip Kelly was going to be kind of, especially after winning the national championship, was going to kind of be a one and done at Ohio State. That he was eventually going to probably go back to the NFL. Here's where it went downhill, and I should have saw it, and everybody should have saw it. Promoting Brian Hartline to full-time offensive coordinator.
Mm.
And I understand why Ryan Day did it. You know, Hartline's already been in the news of, you know, potential coaching jobs. He pretty much came out and they were like, he wants to be a head coach. So, what do you do to make sure that doesn't impact recruiting or anything as a coach? You just promote him. Promote him to a full-time coordinator and hope that that keeps him, you know, around so you don't affect recruiting. Here's the problem with that. Most people don't know is that in 2023, so Hartline's been a co-offensive coordinator since 2023. Even with Chip Kelly, he was a co-offensive coordinator. He was just never the full-time offensive coordinator, and he was never given play calling duties. 2023, though, when he first got named co-offensive coordinator, he was given play calling duties as the co-offensive coordinator. And you know what happened in 2023? Ryan Day stripped him of play calling because his play calling was so horrendous that Ryan Day took over play calling the rest of the year. That should have been the writing on the wall, and it kind of was. I know when I go back and I think about it, I did read a lot of Ohio State fans that were even like didn't want it because they were like, this guy's already been stripped of play calling duties once. Why are we giving him another chance? You know, and so that's the writing on the wall. Now let's fast forward a little bit more. Okay. So you've fully, I guess, decided that you're going to go into next year with either Julian Sayin or Lincoln Keenholz or Tavion St. Clair, who's coming in as a freshman, as one of those guys is going to win the starting quarterback job for me going into next year. Because you don't go into the portal and get a quarterback. You're saying one of these guys is going to be my guy. Okay. Here's the next thing where you messed up at. What was the outside of defense, and then obviously having Jeremiah Smith on your team? What was the one thing that made that Ohio State team last year so damn good?
Will Howard.
Well, but yes, he's part of that. It's the running game. You had Travion Henderson. You had Quinshon Judkins.
Yeah.
You had two now starting running backs in the NFL that both went second round. But you were able to, because like Will Howard wasn't as great of a pocket passer, but it makes his job easy to throw the ball downfield when defenses have to respect the run game because Judkins and Henderson can break one for a touchdown at any given moment. So it makes Will Howard's job as a passer a lot easier because now because I run the ball, safeties have to watch the box, which means I get more one-on-one coverage with Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. Yeah. Makes it a lot easier. Ohio State never addressed the running back room. Bo Jackson was good this year, but Bo Jackson going into the year was a freshman. There's no way you went into this year saying a true freshman is going to be my guy. You need, especially in today's offense in general, like you look at even in the NFL, you look at the best offensive teams in the NFL, they have a dual running back system. You needed another running back. You got CJ Donaldson from West Virginia, who barely surpassed 1,000 yards in the Big 12. And now you're expecting him to come to the Big 10 and produce like Judkins and Henderson did? No, there was no way. Even I was kind of like, all right, after we got Donaldson, I was like, okay, he's a power back. What are we doing else? James Peoples was supposed to take that leap, didn't take that leap. And he hardly saw the field. So now you lose running back depth. You know, you have the defense. So now let's fast forward. Julian Sayin wins the starting quarterback job. And Doug, when I say this, two things can be true when I say these things, okay? Julian Sayin is a very good quarterback. I'm not taking anything away from him. He is not the right fit at Ohio State.
Yeah, and that matters more.
Listen, Julian is a great quarterback. He makes, he is very accurate. He is smart. But when you go through and look at and when I say this, I'm not saying like in terms of like pro football lineage, but like the lineage of quarterbacks at Ohio State. What is the one thing, even with Will Howard last year, why I told you I fell in love with Will Howard was he came in and bought in and loved the University of Ohio State and was willing to die on that field every week for the university.
Yeah.
And if you go back through the quarterbacks, Will Howard was willing to die. CJ Stroud was willing to die. Now, I had issues with CJ not scrambling at times, but he got me back with that Georgia game when he was willing to scramble in the playoff game. CJ was willing to die for Ohio State. Justin Fields was willing to die for Ohio State. Dwayne Haskins, God rest his soul, was willing to put his life on the line for Ohio State. JT Barrett, Cardale Jones, all these guys, Braxton Miller, willing to give it all for Ohio State. Julian saying, I'm not saying that he's not, but I haven't seen it. And when I say that, like it's that Miami game and even the Indiana game, there were multiple times that when the pocket collapsed, that Julian Sayin had a choice to where he could either just throw the ball away and not take the loss of yards, or step into the pocket and just use your legs and go. And he did not do that. And that's why I say, if as an Ohio State fan, you can call me crazy, you can call me spoiled, whatever you want. But as an Ohio State fan, as much as I think Julian is a good quarterback, I don't want him as my quarterback going into next year. I would much rather, like, I am upset, and we're going to talk about this later, that Lincoln Kienholz is leaving. Because that's the type of quarterback I want. And that's why kind of going into this year, when the debate came between, it was the last bit of for the starting quarterback nod, because Ryan was never going to give it to a true freshman like Tavion. It came down to Lincoln and Julian, and it came down to the last week before the Texas game for him to decide who was playing. I was kind of always on the fence and kind of leaning towards more Lincoln, because Lincoln's more like Will Howard, and that just won you a national championship. And I would rather take a little bit lesser of a talent maybe than Julian is, to have a dog behind center that's willing to put it all out on the field. You know, and also I talked to you about this a couple weeks ago, because the Michigan game, when I told you, I said, you know, there's just something missing with Julian, like where he just won't attack downfield because he's so worried about throwing a pick. I don't care about that, dude. If you're willing to at least try to, now I don't want you doing it 3-4 times a game, you know, throwing 3-4 picks a game, but show me that you're willing to take the shot downfield, because that's how you also keep a defense honest. You're not going to have a running game. I gotta keep you honest and showing you I'm willing to, you know, go downfield 20, 25 yards.
Especially with the receivers you have.
And take these shots. Yeah. And you're just not willing to do it because you want to that completion percentage, that 78% completion percentage that Julian Sayin has. It looks great on paper. But brother, when you're just dinking and dunking the whole game, that doesn't matter. Like, take your shots. Will Howard, I told you, you have Jeremiah Smith. You got to have the ability to just say, fuck it, throw it to him. You know, and Julian's just not willing to do it. Because I'm not saying that this is for sure, but it just seems like he wants to protect that completion percentage. And that's why he takes sacks. And that's why he doesn't throw the ball away. Anything to make that completion percentage look really good. And I can't do it. Like it's not the type of quarterback I want. I want the Braxton Millers. I want the JT Barretts. I want the guys that are willing to do whatever it takes to win. And I can't. Julian's just not it for me. I would much rather have the Will Howard type quarterback instead of the Julian Sayin type quarterback.
Yeah. if you don't mind me giving my take on this.
Yeah,
I
go
think
ahead, because I still got more, but go ahead.
well, ultimately, yeah, I agree. I think having that dog at quarterback is so important for every team. I mean, you can see it with the teams that are left in the college football playoff. Trinidad Chambliss, dog. Obviously, Mendoza is a dog. He won a Heisman, and dude's insane. He's playing out of his mind right now. Um, the Carson Beck, be it that he hasn't been that great this year, he's played really well in the playoffs. He's not turning the ball over. He's making the plays when he needs to. And Carson Beck's played in big games, so he's doing exactly what he needs to. Um, and then Dante Moore, who's also really good. It's like who they're all willing to risk it all for their team. Uh, and yeah, Julian's saying you can just tell by the way he played against Miami that he almost looked scared at times. He was like, like you were saying, like I don't want to make a mistake, and you can't worry about that, especially in a big atmosphere like the playoffs. Uh, yeah, I mean, you got to get somebody else in there. I don't know if he does or not, um, but ultimately, I think Ohio State's downfall, man, was you didn't play anybody throughout
Yep.
the season, and then you run into Indiana in the Big Ten championship game. Okay, well, Indiana clearly is the best team in the country. Uh, and then Miami, really good defense, and clicked at the right time. Almost didn't make it in the playoffs, but now they're in the semifinals. But you run into two good teams. You have no experience against good teams, so it ultimately was the downfall. So, and that's only reason Julian Sain's stats look like that. I think if you play Oregon and during the season, they don't look like that. I think you play Indiana during the middle of the season, they don't look like that. So, you know, ultimately, I think the schedule kind of hurt you a little bit. There's another piece of this I want to talk about, but I think I'm going to cover it during the rest of the recap for the playoff. But yeah, that's my take on it. I think
Well,
ultimately the
so
schedule.
speaking of
sad.
dogs at quarterback, I'm gonna read you a list of names here, Doug, and I'll tell you what the list of names is afterwards. I'm sure you'll pick up as I'm naming these. Okay. Will Howard, J.J. McCarthy, Stetson Bennett, Mac Jones, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts, Deshaun Watson, Jake Coker, Cardale Jones, Jameis Winston, AJ McCarron. Are you picking up what I'm putting down here?
Kinda?
Cam Newton, Greg McElroy, Tim Tebow, Matt Flynn, Chris Leak, Vince Young, Matt Leinart. These are a list of names of quarterbacks that have all won national championships. Literally, I
Okay,
just
yeah,
went
right.
down the list. Really, the only one that I can probably that you can go, doesn't really have that dog is probably Mac Jones. But that Alabama team was
Yeah,
so good.
yeah. He didn't have to do much.
But and maybe Jake Coker at Alabama, but all he had to do was hand the ball off to Derrick Henry that year and just watch him run for 300 yards a game. But Will Howard, dog. JJ McCarthy, like him or hate him, and we're talking about just in college, dog.
Yeah.
Stetson Bennett, a literal dog. Joe Burrow, dog. Trevor Lawrence, dog. Jalen Hurts, dog. Deshaun Watson, dog. Deshaun Watson in college, dog. Cardale Jones, dog. Jameis, dog. AJ McCarron, dog. Cam Newton, dog. Like, this is what wins national championships. Like, you have to have that guy under center. Like, you just have to. And I'm sorry, with Julian saying, sure, Ohio State's going to win, 10, 11, 12 games, if he plays next year. And if he doesn't go to the NFL the year after, they're always going to win 10, 11, 12 games no matter what. But you're not going to win the Natty with him under center. And I'm sorry. Maybe in the right fit, maybe he's just not the fit at Ohio State. Very good. But he's just not the fit at Ohio State. Maybe he fits somewhere else and you can win a national championship with that under center. But at Ohio State, that doesn't work. So you gotta move on. They're not going to. Let's just say that they're not going to. But if you're telling me I have control of Ohio State football and I get a say so, I would say we got to go find somebody else. Like, we got to have a dog.
Yeah.
And maybe that dog is already backing him up. Maybe Tavion St. Clair is that dog. We don't know yet, but
how would you have felt that they kind of pulled an Alabama and threw in their backup to help get something going?
Yeah. So my thing is with that is what I would have done, because we all know why they did it. They did it to, one, try to create a spark, but two, the game was over. I mean,
yeah,
even at the time that he went in, the game was over. What I would have done in that situation is I wouldn't even have put Austin Mack in, and you could have still put him in. And if you were planning on redshirting him this year, and if he was on a redshirt, you could still play him and he would have been fine. I would have put the 5-star freshman in Keelan Russell, who's more of a dual threat. He's a completely different look at a quarterback position. And if you want to take in terms of just trying to throw a defense off, the guy's a complete dual threat. He's got a cannon for an arm. Now, whether he's accurate with that, we haven't seen on the field, but it just gives you a completely different look. And it gives me something to look for and to go, hey, if Ty Simpson does truly go into the draft this year, I know what I have going into next year. But the other downfall to that is you put him out there. Now you're putting out there, showing him off pretty much for the transfer portal. And now you're going to have a lot of teams calling and trying to get a hold of him.
Which is terrible.
But if that's what you were trying to do, I wouldn't have put Austin Mack in. But
I just meant from Ohio State's perspective. If Julian Sand wasn't cutting it.
Oh, there were plenty of times in that game where I said, at what point or do we just keep watching this and not put Lincoln in?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Like, because again,
then he adds the
completely different look of a running game.
Yeah, dual threat piece to it.
So, or even if you're not going to like completely switch them out, let's run some different plays where Lincoln comes in certain packages and you have a different look where now, if he comes in, there's the ability he could throw or run on these certain packages. You run certain RPO packages. I don't know. So that's the other. So you already brought up the other part. I was going to bring up the schedule. The schedule definitely did not. Now, Penn State being as shitty as they didn't help.
Yeah, but you guys have owned Penn State for a long time.
True, but that was supposed to be a marquee game.
Yeah, it was.
And Texas, now granted, we got Texas at the beginning of the year. Texas didn't end up being as good as advertised, but that game was pretty good for the most part. They turned it on at the end of the year.
Yeah, they figured it out.
But like, you go back and look at the last 3 games. Each of those 3 games, Julian Sand threw a bad pick in that game. And it was always early. And it was always early. So the Michigan game, that first drive, because you remember Scotty had texted us and was like, this, Ryan Day just can't do it against Michigan because Sand threw that pick that led to a field goal. And it kind of looked like your typical Michigan Ohio State game, the way it's gone the last couple of years. And the Indiana game, same thing. Sand throws a pick early in the first quarter and they just never recovered from it. Miami game, he throws a bad pick. Now on the pick, which ended up being a pick 6, which made it 10-0. I will say that pick isn't really on Julian Sand. That's on Jeremiah Smith. The guy that came through and picked that off was supposed to be Jeremiah Smith's block. And Jeremiah Smith did not block him. And now still, if you kind of see that as a quarterback, you got to kind of just make that decision of he's not blocking. We got to do something else.
Yeah.
But, he throws the difference in the Michigan game and then those last 2 is you got lucky against Michigan that Michigan doesn't have the offensive firepower to keep up the rest of the game. Indiana did, and Miami did. And So it's just, and what I don't understand, and it seemed like also Ryan Day took over play calling duties um for the playoffs because of Brian Hartline taking the job. I don't understand. It seemed like even with the calls that he was making, they seemed very conservative. And when you already start off down 10-0, I understand if you're Ryan Day, if you just said, hey, we want to try to get an early lead and then just sustain it. You never had a lead. So the conservative play calling's got to go out the window. You got to open it up. Like, got to do something.
Yeah.
And I just, we wasted a generational defense because even in the games where you say, yeah, it was a lack of a schedule, that Michigan, Indiana, and Miami game for the most part, the defense showed up. The defense played their part. But when you're having to trot out onto the field 70% of the game because your offense is just going 3 and out majority of the game, you get tired and you start giving up big plays. It happens. Doesn't matter how good your defense is.
Yeah.
So this was just a waste. You got to bring in, if you're Ohio State, you got to bring in a true offensive coordinator, which all the rumors are supposed to be that it's Brian Daboll, which would be great. You got 2 NFL minds in there. Daboll is a big part as to why Josh Allen became what he is, and that's why Brian Daboll got a head coaching job. Daboll was the offensive coordinator in Buffalo when Josh Allen first popped. And so you bring him in, you got to go get some running backs. You got it. And Bo Jackson might be one of your guys, and probably is. You got to go get another running back. And when I say go get another running back, don't go get a backup running back from somewhere just to play a running back spot. I need you to go get a running back that's just equally as good, if not better, than Bo Jackson to have that dual monster back there. And then if I'm Ryan Day, we got to sit down and talk to Julian Sayin. If Julian Sayin is going to be my quarterback going into next year, we got to have some conversations. We got to have some conversations like, hey, we're going to have to take more shots next year. I'm going to need you at times to use your legs and run. And this is what we're going to have to do to win. And if you're not willing to do that, then I'm going to ask somebody else to. It's a tough conversation to have, but you're going to have it.
Yeah.
And Ohio State next year it'll be the same thing. They'll win 11, 12 games next year. And they'll flame out if those things don't change.
Yeah, let's hope you keep beating Michigan because
I was not happy about Kyle Whittingham hire.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know you could talk about this for literally 2 hours. Let's move on to the rest of the playoff.
Yeah. So the Miami win, obviously. Indiana smacked Alabama.
Yep. That game wasn't even close.
Nope, it was not. Shout out to Indiana because Indiana's the only team so far in the last 2 years since we moved to the 12 team that have won after having a bye.
Which, I wanted to bring that up, but go ahead and finish through the.
Oregon, Texas Tech was very interesting, and I had a lot of high hope for Texas Tech. Obviously, offense just couldn't get it done. The defense showed up. They made it hard for Oregon on offense.
Yeah.
The Texas Tech offense just could not get anything going. So if you're Texas Tech, I know you're going to be losing quite a few pieces on the defensive side to the draft this year, and you're going to have to fill those spots. But if you're Texas Tech, you got to be looking all transfer portal and all recruiting into getting some offensive playmakers in there. And part of that might be starting with a quarterback. We'll get into that a little bit later. And then Ole Miss, Georgia.
Fantastic game.
Let me tell you, just when you think Ole Miss is done, out of it, I mean, my goodness, Um, uh, Trinidad Chambliss. I think if he isn't already, um, if he isn't already, should be on a lot of guys' NFL draft boards. And I'm not
Absolutely.
saying first round, per se, not yet, at least. I got to see a little bit more,
Yeah.
but because the kid did come from Ferris State at the end of the day, like, so like he is, he is eating right now. And by the way, I don't know if it's just me. Colin Cowherd said the same thing, but he said this earlier this year, and I didn't see it at first. I kind of see it now. He's smaller, but Trinidad Chambliss kind of looks like Dak Prescott a little bit. He's smaller, but he's just the way he's not afraid to take the shot. It's just the play. I don't know. Just looks a little Dak, like a little bit of Dak to me. But I mean, Georgia played a great game, and Ole Miss obviously played a great game. And really, the difference we thought in this game was that Georgia's offense was just going to be able to make one or two more plays. Well, that Ole Miss defense showed up.
Yeah, they did.
They showed up, and the offense obviously showed up making big play. You kind of thought it was done after Georgia went down. I mean, not done, but Georgia kind of had all the momentum. They go down, kick the field goal, they tie the game, and then all of a sudden, here comes Trinidad Chambliss, just dot, 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 field goal range. Like, and then all the dramatics at the end of the game made the game even more exciting. You got the Georgia running back on the kickoff just fucking launching it out of bounds.
Dude, that was hilarious.
I didn't understand. I need to sit down. I want to sit down with him. I want to know, what was your thought process? Like, obviously your plan was to try to like hook and lateral basically and do a bunch of backyard football. But brother, you threw it and there was nobody within 10 yards of that ball. There wasn't even a player over there.
Yeah.
So anyways, so you get the safety, you do an onside punt, which I've never seen before.
They recovered it.
Yeah, you recover it, which
somehow they ended up
obviously
getting the playoff,
they've practiced that before. Obviously they've practiced that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, and then to have a chance at the end of the game to still win it. And there were a couple times on those laterals where I kept looking back where I was like,
man, they keep going. They're going to lull the defense to sleep here. And
yeah, I was like,
we've all seen it. Crazier shit happen.
But shout out to the people that were there to set up the championship celebration, because them motherfuckers ran onto the field twice and got kicked off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Ole Miss Georgia was a fantastic game, and now we're set up with Ole Miss Miami, and then Oregon Indiana in the Final Four. And yeah, we got two very good games on our hands for the college football playoff.
Yeah. So let's go back to what you mentioned. Was Indiana was the only team so far to win a game and have a first round bye. I think two things come out of this. One, which is pretty obvious, I think, is this Indiana team is very different. They're very good. It didn't matter who they've played so far. They've had something for them. Mendoza's done exactly what he needs to do to win games. They run the ball. The defense is insane. Every phase of football they play is phenomenal. And Cignetti, what he's done in 2 years has been insane to me. So that's one piece that comes out of this. And the other piece is, if I'm one of these teams, these top teams, do I want a first round bye? At this point, I don't think you do.
And here's my thing. If you're going to continue this going forward, where you're going to give a first round bye to the top 4 teams, or if they move to 16 teams, however they want to do it, then I believe in favor of having the first round bye. Then the teams that had a first round bye should still get a home game.
Yes, I was going to mention that. It was 100%. They need a home game. Honestly, I wish every game until the semifinal was home and away home games for all the top seeded teams in every round. I think that would be awesome to see. Um, but the other aspect of this though is why are they waiting a month? 100% the schedule's jacked, and that needs to be fixed. Even if you don't do the neutral site for the first round buys, that's fine. But let's not wait a month before they play.
Yeah, like I'm not giving an excuse, obviously, but because
that
Indiana had
matters.
to do the same thing. But there was 25 days from the time Ohio State played Indiana to the time they played Miami or the other day.
Which
It
is
should never happen.
It should never happen. And for Indiana to go, almost 30 days, a whole month without playing and whoop Alabama like that's what I'm saying. That's what it goes to show. Alabama team or that Indiana team is very different. So yeah, they got to fix the schedule. I know you've already kind of laid that out. I'm gonna send that out now that we're in the semifinals. But yeah, I mean, it needs to be fixed. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a simple, it's just a simple fix. So, real quick, you're gonna post it obviously, but I'm gonna
I'll
show it
post
right
it. But if
here.
you want to show it, go ahead.
I'm gonna show it. Like, all right. So, this is the current schedule. This is how it is going this year. So you have week 0, which starts August 23rd, and then we go through each week and the dates that they correspond on. So, like this. So, December 6th was when Ohio State played Indiana in the Big Ten championship. December 31st is when they played next. That's an insane, and same for Indiana. They played December 6th. They didn't play till January 1st.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
That's just dumb.
That's nuts. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago. So this is what I came up with. It's basically you just push everything up a week. But I'm not giving out buys. Or I'm not giving out, or like after the conference championship, I'm not giving out so many weeks in between.
Yeah.
So again, we talked about this. Get rid of week 0. Who cares? I don't care about if you're going to play Hawaii and you get the extra. I don't care. Then don't schedule Hawaii. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So we basically push everything up a week. Okay. Conference championship week is now Thanksgiving week. And then we immediately come out of that and go right into the CFP. There's no need for a 2-week hiatus between the conference championship and when the first round of the college football playoff starts. Just go into it. It doesn't matter. Like you don't give me, oh, well, college has finals weeks and all this. Like they wouldn't push finals back for these players while they're playing. It happens all the time.
Do these kids even take finals in class? Like they have tutors on the road and stuff with them.
So yeah, you could do all this shit online, especially after COVID. Everything can be done online.
I mean,
clearly,
for the most part.
So now we go straight into conference championship. We go straight into the CFP. All right. There's no need to wait another 2 weeks after that to go into the next round. So we go to the next round, December 12th. Then we go to the next round, December 19th. That way, the national champ, and even if you wanted to move this date right here to New Year's Eve or just New Year's Day, that's fine.
Yeah, more eyes on the game.
Yeah, that's fine. You want to move that to New Year, and probably more than likely New Year's Day. So even if you wanted to say, hey, we'll give you an extra week to prepare for this game, and because it is the national championship, and we'll play January 1st. That's fine. Because you know what happens after January 1st on January 2nd? The portal opens up. So now I've allowed all these kids to play in the college football playoff. I've allowed all these schools to have all their players and everything and coaches intact for the college football playoff. And now they can go to their new, if coaches are going to new schools, they can go to their new schools. Players, when they enter the portal, can now enter the portal without having to worry about games still being played.
I think that's the biggest piece is the portal. Is if you change the schedule like this, it makes more like logical sense.
And also from a media standpoint, I'm taking away the amount of time, the amount of games that are going to be where eyes are going to be taken off of college football games for NFL games to be on.
Yeah.
So, because the NFL decided they want to take over Saturdays too late in the year. Okay, sure. I'm gonna take away the amount of times, the amount of eyes that can be taken away by shortening the schedule.
Yeah.
Now, if this game was over, if the college football national championship was played this past Thursday, now these Saturday, they're not playing college football playoff games this weekend, obviously, but now there's no shot that I have to worry about college football playoffs and NFL crossing paths.
Yeah. I mean, this makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know why the NCAA is so ass backwards when it comes to stuff like this, but they can't seem to get it right. It makes I can't really fathom who the hell is running that over there, but I can't imagine not one person goes to a meeting and says, "Well, let's just change the schedule." Well, when we play.
Yeah, and real quick.
I mean, that seems like a simple fix.
And real quick, because Zach just said it in the chat, I 100% agree. The national championship game being played on a Monday night is a crime. I've been saying this forever.
Oh, yeah. Agreed.
Why the hell college football is traditionally always played on Saturday? Why the hell wouldn't you have the national championship game on a Saturday?
I mean, they do that for basketball too, don't they?
I mean, yeah. Yeah, I think so.
I think
it's
so.
The same thing, but it's the same thing.
But why is that not on a weekend to be watched?
Why would I put it on on the worst day of the week where people are just going back to work? They got to go to work the next day.
Yeah.
Why not?
The
put it on a
NCAA
Saturday?
is so. I'm telling you, ass backwards is the only thing I can think of. They don't get it. They don't get it. And I'll never understand that because it really does seem like a simple fix. Just change the schedule for everything.
Again, if you want to do the school aspect of it for these players, Monday really makes no sense. Why not put it on a Saturday when I ain't got to worry about them going to class either that day or the next day?
Yeah.
If you want to play the school aspect part of it.
Yeah, but if it's in January, they're on winter break already.
True, but I'm just saying if you want to play the school aspect of it, part of it, you can say that. I could say that as well. It makes more sense. And again, a weekend day makes way more sense because I can get more eyes on it. Yep. Not saying that they're lacking eyes because people are going to watch no matter what, but it just makes more sense for a Saturday than it does a Monday.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that eventually they'd get it right, but probably not. I mean, honestly, they've been like this since I guess I've been alive. The NCAA has just been so kind of stupid. But I don't know. I know this has been talked about for years, so that just sucks for the players, for coaches, for schools, and honestly, most importantly, because this is how they make money, is fans.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, the NCAA's got a lot to. It's got a lot to deal with, fix, whatever you want to call it. But speaking of one of the things the NCAA has to fix that we've talked about is the transfer portal.
Yeah.
So, but with that brings a whole new different kind of excitement to the college football world. It's basically college free agency. And so that opens up the doors for a lot of players to move, and it brings again a whole new level of excitement or makes fans upset, players leaving. But I got a list here. We're going to go over some quarterbacks here. All right. So I do this every year. I put a list of like notable players, and then I do a column of where I think they're going to land and then where they actually go. So we talked about Lincoln Kienholz earlier. That was kind of, well, for people like me and you, big news last night.
Yeah.
I expected Lincoln Kienholz. So Chip Kelly took the offensive coordinator job at Northwestern. So I kind of expected maybe Lincoln to go with his former offensive coordinator where he could go start at Northwestern, follow him. He ended up at Louisville last night.
Yeah.
So Doug, I'll let you take that one.
I mean, from what I've seen around, like, I guess Louisville Twitter or whatever, I mean, people seem excited about it. I watched some videos of him playing when he got in at Ohio State. Dude is we talked about having a dog at quarterback. A dude is a dog. He brings a dual threat aspect as well. I think this is ultimately what Brom does. He gets his guy in here. He builds the team around the quarterback. So now we just got to go get receivers around him. So far, you've kept Keywan Brown, who's been a really good running back for us. So maybe get another running back. If I'm just hearing rumors, I don't know if this is true or not, but if you can somehow pay Isaac Brown and get him back, that would be ideal to have the two-headed monster of Brown and Brown. So, I mean, I'm kind of excited about this. He brings a different quarterback aspect that Brom hasn't been like known for. So maybe he's trying to open up the playbook and try something different. So well, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe there could be another quarterback that comes in as well. Too, they might try to do a little competition as well.
Maybe. So just kind of, I won't go to everybody. I'll kind of go through some of the big names. But Drew Mestemaker, who is kind of the shocker of college football this year. We've talked about him before on here. Walked on at North Texas. Ended up winning the starting job. North Texas had a great season. He ended up being one of the NCAA leaders in passing. Head coach heads to Oklahoma State. That's where I expected him to go. That's where he ended up. Yes, yesterday he announced that he is going to Oklahoma State. So, but yeah, for some of these, a lot of these guys, some of you may not know. So I have like Kenny Minchie back up at Notre Dame, ending up in Nebraska. Michael Hawkins back up at Oklahoma, ending up at North Texas to replace Mestemaker. Deuce Knight at Auburn was kind of an interesting one. He was kind of the third string, true freshman, former 5-star quarterback, entered the portal. I'm guessing because part of that will be Byron Brown's in the portal, who was South Florida's quarterback with Alex Golesh last year. It's probably about a 95% chance he's going to end up at Auburn. So that's probably why. And I think Deuce Knight ends up being Ole Miss's starting quarterback next year. Trinidad Chambliss is so far by the NCAA not been granted another year of eligibility. So, and with that, Austin Simmons down here entered the portal, who was their starting quarterback at the beginning of the year. So Ole Miss is going to look to fill a need at quarterback. Deuce Knight can fill that. Well, let's talk about the biggest news. Sam Leavitt from Arizona State, who is rated on 24/7 as the number 1 quarterback in the transfer portal, is rumored to be heading to Lexington, Kentucky.
Yeah, you are throwing an absolute bag at him, right? So far,
it's anywhere from $5 to $7 mil,
which is insane.
What I'm hearing.
I mean, he's good. I think he's worth.
He is worth it. That. And Will Stein is working some magic so far in Lexington. I mean, the names that I've heard that are taking visits and are, likely to go. Listen, and like you said, they need it. That schedule is brutal. You're going to need anything you possibly can. And obviously, you go get a quarterback that jump starts a lot of different things. So now Sam Leavitt is on a visit to Texas Tech today. Now, part of that I feel like is he already promised some of these visits, so he's going to go take the visits. I fully expect from everything I've heard, Sam Leavitt is going to commit to Kentucky. And what a start to the Will Stein era in Lexington that would be if they are able to land the number 1 quarterback in the transfer portal. I think after that, you go down a couple of big names here. Dylan Raiola, who was a name for Louisville to be thrown out there as a guy that they could land. I think he ends up, as long as Dante Moore puts his name in the draft, which I think he will. Dude's a projected number 1, top 3 pick, basically. I think he'll leave his name in the draft. So I expect Dylan Raiola to be the replacement at Oregon. Rocco Becht at Iowa State. same thing as we've talked about up here. I think he just follows his coach, Matt Campbell, to Penn State. He's the next Penn State quarterback. Brendan Sorsby, who kind of broke onto the scene in college football this year at Cincinnati under the great Scott Satterfield. Listen, there's a lot of speculation about him going to LSU. I think at the end of the day, listen, he's from Texas. His girlfriend just committed to Texas Tech to play volleyball. I think that's going to trump all. I think Brendan Sorsby ends up the next starting quarterback at Texas Tech next year.
Yep.
DJ Lagway, I expect to go to Baylor. He is taking a visit to Florida State today, but Baylor it came down to Florida Baylor when he was committing, and he chose Florida. DJ Lagway's dad did play at Baylor. So I think Baylor, with the kind of the offense that they run, kind of fits DJ Lagway, allows him to go there. Byron Brown, we talked about already, I think goes to Auburn. Curt Cignetti is going to do it again. He's going to go from Fernando Mendoza to Josh Hoover, transferring from TCU. I think Hoover was recruited by Indiana coming out of high school. So I think Hoover ends up going to Indiana to be that next quarterback for Curt Cignetti. And then just moving down the line, I expected Colton Joseph from Old Dominion to go to Virginia Tech. Wisconsin got him this morning. That's shocking to me. This kid, I'll tell you what, this Colton Joseph from Old Dominion, Amari Odom from Kennesaw State. These are the two sleeper guys that they could be really good next year.
Yeah. Yep.
So I got Bo Pribula after Colton Joseph left to go to Wisconsin and not Virginia Tech this morning. I think Bo Pribula reunites with James Franklin and Virginia Tech, and he heads to VTech. Anthony Colandrea, Doug, we talked about this. You remember him from his time at Virginia, was at UNLV. I think he heads to Florida State.
Oh.
And then Amari Odom, we talked about Georgia Tech. This one should have already been put in, but because it is official, Cutter Boley is at Arizona State now. We are essentially, when you think about it, just swapping quarterbacks between Kentucky and Arizona State here. It's going to be very similar to what we saw with Tennessee and UCLA last year with Joey Aguilar and Nico just swapping places.
I like Cutter's game. He landed at Arizona State, right?
Yeah.
Already.
Yep.
I think that's a pretty good fit for him. He could have a pretty good season next year under Arizona State.
So, and then just a couple other ones. Aaron Philo back up at Georgia Tech, I think will be John Summerall's first guy at Florida. Caton Hauser. I have the Tennessee this morning. He was given a crystal ball on 24/7 to Illinois, so maybe that changes. And then Alonzo Barnett, who was James Madison's starting quarterback all year. I think he ends up being Sorsby's replacement at Cincinnati. And then Austin Simmons, we talked about from Ole Miss, is being rumored to head to be Missouri's new starting quarterback with Bo Pribula heading into the portal. So from what I gathered, a lot of people assumed when Austin Simmons entered the portal that he probably just head to LSU with Lane Kiffin again. From what I understand was Simmons was not happy, was one of the players that was not happy with how Lane left and did everything. So kind of let the sour taste. So he was not going to follow Lane Kiffin.
Speaking of LSU, was any of those top quarterbacks, projected to LSU?
I did not. I think there's still, for me to put somebody at LSU right now, because a lot of, again, Sorsby's like the name that like everybody keeps throwing around at LSU. But again, the girlfriend situation going to Texas Tech, the kid's from Texas, I think that's going to trump everything. And listen, I know people don't want to hear it, but Texas Tech has just as much money as LSU.
Yeah, they got that oil money.
So I think there is one or two quarterbacks star quarterbacks that have not entered the portal yet that I would expect to enter the portal that I think will open up the door for LSU.
And who would that be?
I think it's still Bryce Underwood at Michigan.
Mm.
I think he's going to sit down with Kyle Whittingham. He's going to sit down with that offensive coordinator. I don't think that they're going to have the same conversations. I think Underwood hits the portal, heads to LSU. That's when Lane Kiffin will swing in. He'll head to LSU, which will open up the door for Devin Dampier at Utah to enter the portal, which I think he'll take Michigan at that point to go rejoin with Kyle Whittingham. And I think there's still a question mark on that Keelan Russell kid at Alabama. If Ty Simpson does come back for another year at Bama, does he just say, I'm not waiting another year and dip?
Yeah.
So
interesting. College free agency is a wild time, man. When these kids gonna have to sign contracts like actual NFL players and stuff?
I don't know.
Because that's what they should be doing.
I don't know if we'll ever reach that point.
We should. They're gonna have to put some regulations on this shit eventually. Yeah. Well, just enjoy the chaos while it happens.
Well, and when I sent you the video, that's just John Calipari said it best, and you can use it for college football. You can use it for college basketball.
Yep.
If you get one time to transfer, okay, potentially two, if your head coach gets fired or whatever, and you want to leave. After that, you got to sit a year, and that's if you're not willing to sit the year, then don't transfer. I don't know what to tell you, but you can transfer one time and freely go somewhere else and still play. Potentially two times, like I said, if your coach gets fired. But after that, you got to sit. I'm tired of hearing. I'm so tired of hearing guys that are still playing college football when Justin Herbert played college football.
I know.
Folks, Justin Herbert played college football in 2019, 2020.
That's insane to me.
Like, we got to stop it. Just cut it out. All right. We're going to move on. We're going to play this same game that we did last week for the NFL playoffs. So, Doug, we'll play this game again to play this all out. To see who obviously who's in the playoffs, who's out. So I think the Bengals beat the Browns today in Cincinnati. I think the Texans still beat the Colts today in Houston. Jacksonville beats Tennessee. Let me know if you disagree with any of these, by the way. Raiders Chiefs.
I think that Browns-Bengals game is going to be close.
I think it will be, but I think just because
Joe Burrow's
still playing.
But yes, I think. Yeah,
Raiders Chiefs. I'm gonna kind of lean Chiefs because I think the Raiders are just gonna try to lose.
They're horrible.
Well, they're just gonna try to lose to get that top pick.
Yeah,
like they're not playing for anything. What does it matter? Broncos, Chargers.
Pete Carroll to be gone. Yeah, go ahead.
Broncos, Chargers. Broncos still playing for the 1 seed. I think the Broncos get it done against the Chargers. Bills, Jets. I would go Bills. Patriots, Dolphins. Patriots. We'll come back to this game last. But Packers, Vikings. Packers are already locked into the 7 spot. There's no changing that. They're resting a lot of starters this week. I think that could open the door for Minnesota to kind of win this game this week. It doesn't really matter for Green Bay. This one, we'll come back to this one because that has a lot of playoff implications on it as well. Cowboys, Giants. Again, Giants are trying to tank, not win. I think the Rams beat the Cardinals. This one can get very interesting.
I'm going to go Bears.
But yeah, I'd go Bears, and then I'd go Eagles.
Yeah.
All right, now let's get to the two that have the most playoff implications. So this one, if the Saints win, Tampa Bay's in the playoffs. If the Falcons win, there's a 3-way tie in the NFC South, and the Panthers get the tiebreaker, and the Panthers go.
Dang. I'm going Saints.
Yeah, I think the Saints are playing way too good right now.
Playing pretty well right now.
Yeah, and I would go New Orleans.
Olave, baby.
And then this one, the Sunday night game, The AFC North is on the line. Winner of this game goes to the playoffs. There is no one team gets a wild card. Yet, nope. One team is going, one team is not. And
I think is
with
Lamar's
playing
playing,
tonight,
right? So
Lamar playing tonight.
I think you take the Ravens.
Lamar playing tonight. You're down a lot of receivers in Pittsburgh. I think Baltimore wins tonight.
Yep.
To secure their playoff spot. So then that would set up. You would have. So we'll play this game out again. We'll do this obviously again next week when the playoffs are set. Texans, Ravens in Baltimore. Buffalo, Jacksonville in Jacksonville. Chargers, Patriots in New England. LA, Tampa in Tampa. Niners, Eagles in Philly. And then Packers, Bears in Chicago. So over on this side, I know you're not going to like it, Doug, but I would go the Houston Texans.
Yeah. Home game though for Baltimore though. I don't know. Home playoff game for Baltimore. That's always a tough place to play. Cold. I mean, I still think I would take Baltimore in the situation. I know the Texans have played well, but I mean, it could be a pick 'em, honestly.
This game could be probably the best game.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Jaguars, Bills in Jacksonville. No cold weather scenario here to have to worry about. I don't know. I might ride Buffalo.
I think we take Josh Allen, right?
Yeah, I think in that game, inexperienced coach in the playoffs. Trevor's only got one playoff win. I think I would ride with Buffalo to win that game. Chargers, Patriots, I would go Patriots. You're going to have to go fly to New England.
Yeah, I agree.
LA, Tampa, I would go Rams. Tampa is barely getting in by the skin of their teeth. They're not. Eagles, Niners in Philly, I would go Eagles to win this game.
Agreed.
And then Bears, Packers, I would go Bears.
I'd go Bears. Yeah.
Which would set up the next week. So you would have Ravens, Patriots here.
I'd go Patriots, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going Patriots over the Texans as well. Broncos and Buffalo in Denver.
I think I go Broncos.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to. Eagles, Bears in Chicago. I think I would go Eagles.
Yeah, this is an interesting one.
Interesting game, but again, it's just the experience of being there versus two guys that haven't.
I said this last week. I think the Eagles can come out of the NFC if they just start clicking.
Yeah,
100%. Like you said, the experience is there. They just won a Super Bowl. It's set up for them. I really do think that. So
yeah, and listen, I know the Bears earlier this year. The Bears beat the Eagles earlier this year. I understand that, but like we talked about last week, it's hard to beat a team twice.
It is, and timing is everything. So,
and then Seahawks and Rams. Listen, I think I'd go Seattle.
Seattle, for me, has the last few games they've started really slow, and they've ended up their defense is keeping them in the game. But yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, I would have to go Seattle too. But
I think just in Seattle's able to run the ball very well.
I'm losing faith in Seattle, is what I'm saying.
I don't know. I think last night's game got me more into Seattle than they have all year. For me, at least.
I still think they should have scored more.
And then, so this would set up Patriots, Broncos, and then Eagles, Seahawks over here on this side. And I think in this scenario, just because of, I mean, you got they're kind of the same team for the most part in terms of both quarterbacks never been in this situation, but you got two head coaches that have. Obviously, Peyton's won a Super Bowl, but But one's got a better defense than the other. And I think that's what separates
Yeah,
the
I can get behind the defense.
separates the two. And then Eagles Seahawks on the other side.
I like Eagles.
And so here's the thing. And this is why I said I'm more bought into the Seahawks based off last night than I have been all year, because I watched Sam Darnold last night for about the first time in his career. Maybe not the first time. Obviously, I'm over exaggerating, but he just managed the game. He didn't try to force anything. He didn't try to be Superman. He did what he was supposed to do to win games. And I don't know. And there's a lot of question marks still with Philly that I can't just say for a fact is going to be fixed going into the postseason. And I don't know. Seattle's got the second best defense in the NFL right now. If Darnold's going to play like that, you have obviously JSN, who's arguably this year been the best receiver in the NFL. I don't know. I'm kind of torn between this because I don't know. Because Philly's defense the last couple of weeks has played up to that par of number 1, number 2 defense in the NFL. It's just a matter of, what Philly team am I getting? Really?
I don't know. My gut just keeps saying Philadelphia. I don't know why, but I just don't trust Sam Darnold 100%. I think he creates turnovers.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Philly just because I as much as I really want to believe in Sam Darnold,
I just don't trust him.
I just can't.
And Jalen Hurts has the experience in that situation.
Yeah.
And I think I'd go Broncos here. The defense is too good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I would agree. I know there's certain people that might be watching live right now that won't agree with that.
Yeah, but the fact that we even had Philly in the Super Bowl is kind of, I think.
I don't know.
Crazy,
I'm still gonna have to think long and hard about it. Like going because I don't.
This isn't the
Seattle
actual playoff set in stone though. So
Seattle's just an interesting team to me.
Yeah.
But let's just let's stick to the NFL for a second. Let's talk about this MVP race. It's really just a 2-man race. And by the way, that Zach watching, he said y'all got more confidence in the Eagles offense than I do. Let's talk about this MVP race because it's pretty much a 2-man race. It's between Drake May and Matthew Stafford. And I caught some heat this week on a TikTok video, not that I made, but somebody made a TikTok video talking about this shouldn't be a conversation. Why are we even having a conversation anymore? This is Drake May's MVP award. And I said, well, here, I'll read you my exact comment that I made. And I haven't replied to anybody because I was like, they just started flooding my notifications with comments. I said, Rams strength of schedule this year, number 1. Patriots strength of schedule this year, 32. Stafford's numbers are against way better teams and not a cupcake schedule. Stafford's numbers on the year, 65% completion percentage, 4,446 total yards, 42 total touchdowns, 8 interceptions against the best schedule in the NFL, while Drake May is at a 71% completion percentage, 4,612 total yards, 34 total touchdowns, and 8 interceptions against the worst schedule in the NFL. And then I get flooded with comments. Oh my God. I mean, I didn't know Drake May had this big of a support group.
It's Patriots, bro. Yeah, of course he does.
I just, I thought I was big on the Drake May support group because I was the one that said Drake May was the best quarterback in his class with Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. But apparently he's got a bigger support group than I thought. So then I get hit with Then I get hit with the stat that everybody's using for Drake May over Matthew Stafford, and it's their record against common opponents. And it's the stats against common opponents, and it's the teams that they played that are the same. So there were 6 total teams that Stafford and Drake May both played. They both played the Tennessee Titans. They both played the Atlanta Falcons. That's 2. They played Tampa. That's 3. They both played the Panthers. That's 4. They both played the Saints. That's 5. And they both played the Ravens. So Stafford's numbers against those teams was 4-2, 67% completion percentage, 1,535 total yards, 14 total touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Drake Mays in those games was 6-0, 70% completion percentage, 1,754 total yards, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So I get it. Against common opponents, sure, Drake May was better, but again, those common opponents weren't that great. And again, we're talking about Stafford playing the best schedule in the NFL all year versus Drake May playing the worst schedule. Here, let me tell you, there was not including the double games, there was 14 games total, 14 different teams that each guy played. These are the defensive rankings for Drake Mays. 25, 21, 14, 19, 12, 15, 28, 13, 20, 24, 30, 31, 26, 17. Not a single top 10 defense played against. Versus Stafford played 1, 28, 3, 18, 16, 17, 9, 15, 2, 24, 19, 29, 23, 20. So the average defensive ranking that Matthew Stafford played was 16 based on that, and the average Drake Mays played was 21. The total record combined for the teams that Drake May played was 85 and 141. The total record combined for the teams Matt Stafford played was 119 and 109. A 52% win percentage versus a 38% win percentage. Not to mention, Drake May was sacked this year 47 times and had 9 fumbles. Versus Stafford was only sacked 22 times. Now, Stafford does have a little bit better of a better offensive line. So the other argument I hear is Stafford has better supporting cast, which I'm not going to argue. He does. He's got Puka Nacua. He's got Devontae Adams. He's got Kyren Williams.
What does that mean, though?
Sean McVay. But I'm sorry that Stafford is in a better situation. But
yeah, they're not taking that into account.
But
for the
to
MVP
me,
race.
I don't give a shit about the common opponent stats. I don't care, because those games don't take into the fact that, again, Stafford has played against the best schedule in the NFL.
Yeah.
And also in the games that he played, so he played 4 games against top 10 defenses. He beat the Texans, who's number 1. He lost to the Eagles, who's number 3. Beat the Jaguars, who's number 9, and split 1-1 with the Seahawks, who's number 2. So he went 3-2 against top 10 defenses. Still a winning record. And again, what I don't like is when I've done this a lot with a lot of players. I don't like when we want to pull in total yards and total touchdowns, including rushing and passing. Because what you're trying to make that number of touchdowns and yards closer than what they really are. Because Matthew Stafford's 4,446 total yards is all passing. Drake May's 4,612 total yards is all, we got to mix in rushing and passing. Because if we didn't, and we just went off passing, Drake May just passing this year is 4,203 yards, which is 200 yards less than Stafford is. And if we took away his rushing touchdowns, which is 4, he's 12 touchdowns off of Stafford.
I think for me, the touchdowns is what gives Stafford the edge, especially again. I didn't know that Stafford played against the toughest schedule in the NFL. I think that matters.
It's got
Um,
to. And not to mention, and I'm not taking anything away from Drake May. I'm not trying to use this and say Drake May
no, he's had
doesn't
an
deserve it.
outstanding season.
He has. But also, let's talk about this. When we're talking about MVP, we're talking about big time performances, right? Like at some point, Drake May has had big time performances, but Drake May also has only one 300-yard passing game this year.
Mm.
So there has been a lot of times this year where maybe Stafford's other supporting cast outside of Puka and Devontae hasn't really shown up, and it had to be on Matthew Stafford. You know, there's been a lot of times where Drake May's been able to lean against his defense and win games that way because he hasn't had to throw the ball, obviously, with only one 300-yard game. He's been able to lean on Travion Henderson running the ball very well. There are times that, yes, while Stafford has a talented roster, Stafford's had to do it all at times. And I think, to me, I think the race is very close. I'm not saying that. But to me, if you're asking me who deserves the MVP award, I get, if you take away the rushing yards, I've got more passing yards, more passing touchdowns. I get it 6% less on the completion percentage. And I got the same amount of interceptions and less sacks. It's Stafford. And listen, Drake May's young. Drake May's only in his second year in the league. He's going to have his time. I'm not saying this got to be the end all be all. Stafford, we only got so much longer, Stafford. And again, we talked about last week. I said Stafford, I think, is better than Aaron Rodgers all time. And you add an MVP to that, and then you add potentially, if they make a run, another Super Bowl run here, would kind of solidify that. And so I think the award should go to Matthew Stafford. I think clearly all year, Stafford's been in the race all year. He played against the best record or the best schedule in the NFL. He's played against better defenses than Drake May has. Listen, we talked about also at the beginning of the year, because we knew the schedule was going to be weak for the Patriots because we said the Patriots can make a run in the playoffs after not last year because they have an easy schedule. Not to mention the fact that if I'm comparing also divisions, 3 teams from Stafford's division are going to make the playoffs. And then Drake May's got to deal with Josh Allen, sure. But outside of that, the Dolphins and Jets are horrible.
Very true.
So I think the award's got to go to Stafford. To me.
No, yeah, I mean, you dug pretty deep for these statistics. Yeah, I mean, to me, what you just explained, I didn't know a lot of this stuff. Obviously, I think if I was outside looking in, I think I would pick Stafford. I think the touchdown discrepancy makes me lean more Stafford. The yards are not that much, but I definitely the schedule, the best schedule versus the worst schedule.
Yeah,
I mean that kind of
to
solidifies
me,
it for me
worst
too.
schedule, you better put up those numbers.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the last topic real quick. We'll just mention it real quick. So, Brooks Koepka has decided to leave LIV. Transition to a little golf here. Is he back in? Is he going to be back in the PGA, Lucas? What do you think?
I think so.
I think
that's the purpose of leaving.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately the PGA is going to have to let these guys back in. It's going to add more competition for each tournament. Koepka kind of lost his way a little bit when he went to LIV. I fully expect him to get his competitiveness back and be in some going into Sundays on some of these majors, being right there. The wild card though is DeChambeau.
Yeah, because he said this definitely plays a part in whether he re-signs with LIV or not.
Yeah, if the PGA lets him in, no questions or penalties asked, which, by the way, they did ask Rory about this, and they said his response was basically they've paid their penalty by leaving. We just let him back in. He knows this is good for golf and the PGA in general.
Yeah, but I wonder if he'd have that same answer if it was Bryson.
He said Bryson in the
Oh,
thing.
okay.
He said if you add someone like Bryson DeChambeau and it helps with the competitiveness of golf, paraphrasing there. That's pretty much what he said. He said, why not do that?
Now, also real quick, part of the reason why Koepka is leaving, or really the main reason why Koepka is leaving LIV, it says it was a family decision. He said it feels right. He said with leaving LIV, he's allowed to be at home more. Which
Yeah.
if people don't know, Koepka and his wife had a miscarriage earlier this year in June. So there's been a lot of issues going on at home with them with that. Allows him to stay at home. Now, obviously, him joining the tour, you get a lot more got a lot more American based, courses to play in. So yeah, I think Koepka will be back into the PGA. And then yeah, I think Bryson will not be long after, depending on when his contract ends with LIV, which let's take a look at that. Bryson DeChambeau LIV contract. So Bryson's contract runs through to the end of this upcoming season. So though he's been discussing a potential early renewal in late 2025, but obviously that was before Koepka. So I think he's going to play out his LIV contract this year in 2026, and I think by 2027 we see Bryson back in the PGA.
I agree. Yeah, and ultimately, I think this is the end of LIV.
Oh yeah, because Brooks was one of the.
Well, Rahm is the biggest piece.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, but Brooks was one of the biggest pieces. You lose Bryson, that's arguably your second biggest piece.
Yeah, we're seeing the downfall of it.
Yeah, and I think it's only by 2027, 2028, you're going to see all these guys. I think Rahm, all them leave, LIV, go back to the PGA.
Yeah, I mean, I said this when this first happened. These guys are going to get the guaranteed money from not even having to win tournaments. And like Rahm, gets 300 million after his contract is up. His full contract is worth 300 million. Why not do that when you kind of know in the back of your head you're going to go back to the PGA Tour to play competitive golf, but now you're set for life. Like your kids' are set for life. Generational wealth done. And it really kind of takes the stress out of winning tournament or having to win tournaments in the PGA Tour when you go back, because now you have the money. You're set. So why wouldn't they do that? That's why I kept telling people, I was like, why would they not just go get the guaranteed money and then just come back in 5 years? Now, I think, the PGA Tour could try and make a statement and say, all right, if you come back, you got to have a year suspension or whatever, something stupid. I don't think they do that, though. I think it would look bad for golf.
Yeah, I mean, you see already when these guys get to play in the majors.
Yeah, right.
How much of a draw it is. You can't do that.
Yep. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with Koepka, but yeah, ultimately what happens with him is, probably what everybody else is going to do, big time players in the LIV. So the Saudi oil money might be coming to an end. So, all right, well, yeah, I think that pretty much does it for this episode. Work the crowd. Again, I'm Douglas Harden. That's Jacob Klukas. We'll see you guys next week.